Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Road Traffic Act exposed. Unfortunately, on social media, there are people who are not understanding the Road Traffic Act and the way it's being applied to the public on the streets by the police. So, we are going to explain why the police are wrong in their interpretation of this act. Ladies and gentlemen, please forward this information to every citizen if possible, because YouTube will not promote this video unless we do it ourselves. So anyone who views this post, please invite someone or provide this information to other members of the public. The more that knows, the better. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to show you a video, a police stop of a lady and a gentleman, and after that we will explain where the police are going wrong. Now, please bear with us, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so it's 5 o'clock and you stopped me under the Road Traffic Act. That's fine. So yeah. How can I help you? Would you like me to move somewhere so you're not standing in the road?
I would like you to provide us with your details,
okay,
a copy of your driving licence and a copy of your insurance, and then I'd like to speak to you about the manner of your driving.
Okay.
Now, as a police officer and as a person, I'm pretty laid back with things.
Can you tell me why you stopped me for?
Yes, we've stopped you under section 163 of the Road Traffic Act. We can stop.
Oh, right, to stop and check.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
literally,
fine.
I just stopped you and said I can just check your details. Can I just check your licence? Have you had...
Now, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me qualify myself. I am a law student. I have not failed any of my modules in my course. In addition to that, I have over 8 years judicial knowledge and experience in the courts, actual experience. So, ladies and gentlemen, believe you me when I tell you this. In the first instance, when you listen in that video, you will hear the person in the police uniform stating that he is a police officer. He's stating that he's a police officer, ladies and gentlemen. So in the first instance, that stop becomes unlawful because a police officer has no authority to stop a motor vehicle under the Road Traffic Act. Let's be clear about that in the first instance. And in case anyone wants to test the moral society, ladies and gentlemen, let's examine the Road Traffic Act. So this is 163 of the Road Traffic Act, subsection 1. A person driving a motor vehicle on the road must stop the vehicle on being required to do so by a constable in uniform or a traffic officer. So Parliament is ordering the person who is driving the motor vehicle to stop the motor vehicle, that he must stop the motor vehicle and being required to do so by a constable in uniform or a traffic officer. Now, ladies and gentlemen, pay attention to the words that Parliament are using in this act. First of all, they say that you must. So they're giving an order to the driver of the motor vehicle that he must stop and being required to do so by a constable in uniform. Now, ladies and gentlemen, where in that section did you see police officer? Does it state police officer? No. It states a constable in uniform or a traffic officer. Now, a traffic officer are the people who look after the motorways that you see on the motorways. They're not police, they're traffic officers, not police. And anyone who drives on the motorway regularly will know these people. They are called traffic officers. So that's what Parliament refers to when it states a traffic officer. So either a constable in uniform or a traffic officer, ladies and gentlemen. Nowhere does it say a police officer. So the stop, ladies and gentlemen, in the first instance is unlawful. Now, at section 163, subsection 1, the person must stop the motor vehicle and being required to do so by a constable in uniform or a traffic officer. Do you see, ladies and gentlemen? Can you see? No, you cannot see anywhere it states a person driving a vehicle on the road must stop the vehicle and required to do so by a constable in uniform and provide license and insurance documents. Does not state that, does it, ladies and gentlemen? However, we've just shown you the video where the police are applying it consecutively. And what does consecutive mean, ladies and gentlemen? It means one after each other. Nowhere do you see it states under 163 subsection 1 where it states a person must stop the motor vehicle and being required to do so by a constable in uniform and provide insurance and license, ladies and gentlemen. So why is the police in the video stopping the motor vehicle and consecutively requiring insurance and license? Why are they doing this? Police have no powers to do that under 163 of the Road Traffic Act, do they? Ladies and gentlemen, the powers to require insurance and license are under different sections. So take section 165 of the Road Traffic Act, where Parliament gives powers to the police to require insurance from a person driving a motor vehicle. So it states, powers of the police, any of the following person to require the driver's insurance. A person driving a motor vehicle on the road. Now, ladies and gentlemen, where in section 165, subsection 1, subsection A, does it state that the person driving the motor vehicle is required to provide that information effective immediately? Where? It does not state that the driver must provide those details, does it? It only gives the powers of the police to require the production of it. But it doesn't state the person driving the motor vehicle must provide those documents effective immediately under section 165, subsection 1, subsection A. Does it, ladies and gentlemen? Now, if that was the case, ladies and gentlemen, that a police can just stop a motor vehicle and require insurance and license from the driver, not only does that contradict section 165, subsection 1C, where it requires the police constable to have reasonable cause that you're committing a driving offence. Not only does it contradict that, ladies and gentlemen, but in 165, subsection 1A, Parliament does not insert the word must. And so, on that basis, ladies and gentlemen, we know that it is not consecutive. Police have no powers to just simply stop a motor vehicle in order to just check the license or insurance of the person driving the motor vehicle. We know this, ladies and gentlemen, as we've just explained the reasons why. So why are the police doing that? It is because, ladies and gentlemen, they are ignorant of their own statutory legislation. And ignorance of their law is no excuse, because police authorities have legal departments. So immediately, ladies and gentlemen, your rights are being denied, and your access to justice to challenge the authority of the police is being denied. What's being delivered at the roadside, ladies and gentlemen, is anarchy. You have a police constable that is judge, jury, and executioner. They will smash your car window, detain you, and seize your motor vehicle, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, it is imperative that you understand that these police constables are not enforcing law. They are enforcing the Road Traffic Act. Nowhere in the Road Traffic Act does it classify the common law jurisdiction offence. It is the Road Traffic Act that they are applying, the statutory legislation on you. So quite clearly, ladies and gentlemen, the police are acting outside of the constitutional fold of government, because the United Kingdom is common law jurisdiction. That is the custom and laws of this realm. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Constitution. So it is for Parliament and the police constable at the roadside to prove that statutory legislation applies within common law jurisdiction. And in that case, ladies and gentlemen, they must classify the offence. In common law jurisdiction, there are two categories of law: criminal and civil. So, what is the category of the Road Traffic Act? Furthermore, ladies and gentlemen, where is the proof that statutory instruments applies to citizens in their natural state? Meaning in their common natural state, under their God-given rights, ladies and gentlemen. Where does statutory legislation apply? As we've mentioned, statutory instruments does not apply to citizens of this realm unless the statute classifies the common law jurisdiction of offence or order in which the citizen must comply with. But a statutory instrument in and of its own, such as the Road Traffic Act, is unconstitutional, unlawful, and it is fraudulent. And that is what they're applying here, ladies and gentlemen. The Road Traffic Act. That is the reasons why in the Road Traffic Act it does not classify the offence. It just states you are committing an offence. And on that note, the police are enforcing the Road Traffic Act, which is a statutory instrument, not law. It is not law. It is a statutory instrument. And then, ladies and gentlemen, because they know that they're practicing fraud, they deny you your rights at the roadside and deny you access to justice. And when you question the police constable about the law, he's unable to answer. So he resorts to the only thing left in his arsenal is violence. And Parliament has authorised the police to use reasonable force to seize your property. Ladies and gentlemen, let me put it in my ancestral tongue, Latin: actus de nil malefactus. And what that means, ladies and gentlemen, is an act of God does nobody wrong. Furthermore, ladies and gentlemen, Action non deter equin, non lo is est. Action is not given to one who is not damaged. So you see why they want to take you out of your natural, God-given common law rights. Because unless someone's injured, unless someone's harmed, then, ladies and gentlemen, why are the police even speaking to you? Why would the police even be talking to you? The police should not even be speaking to you unless they suspect you of an offence, of committing a crime. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, there is no reason for the police to even be speaking to you, because a police constable does not work for Parliament. A police constable does not work for private companies. The police serve the Crown. And it is a common law jurisdiction, not statute law. Statutory legislation is to guide the public authorities so that they do not infringe on the rights of the citizens. That is what government is there for, to secure the rights of citizens, not infringement of them. And these statutory instruments are being used to control and direct the lives of citizens in their natural state. So it's little wonder why they would deny you access to justice and deny you of your rights on the roadside, and the police becomes judge, jury and executioner all in one, and you don't have a say in the matter. So this is where we are, ladies and gentlemen, and it's getting even worse, because now we hear Parliament talking about removing juries except for the exceptional trials. So they want to take away your rights even further and restrict your ability to defend yourself. Because in a court of law, ladies and gentlemen, the Road Traffic Act does not stand up. And so now we're going to get single judges who are easily corrupted. And we've seen this, ladies and gentlemen, in the family courts with these single judges making unauthorized orders and illegal decisions in order to suppress the unlawful and criminal acts of these public bodies. And this is what these people are gearing up to do, so that you cannot challenge the unlawful and criminal acts of the state. And believe me, ladies and gentlemen, they are criminals. Most of these people in Parliament are up to no good themselves, and they abuse state powers for unlawful purposes. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot be any more clearer on this Road Traffic Act fraudulent nonsense that these people are fleecing the public. And unfortunately, the fact of the matter is the police are applying the Road Traffic Act incompetently. And when they're stopping motor vehicles, they're assuming that they can just simply stop the motor vehicle and consecutively apply any of the other sections without any justification whatsoever. And you hear it in the videos where they tell the occupant of the vehicle, we can just stop you and check your details, that they don't need a reason. So who's advising these people? Are they acting on their own motion? Because if they read the Road Traffic Act, they'll find that they do need reasons. They do need reasons. And we have read it out in this post and explained why the police cannot just simply stop a motor vehicle just to check documents as if we're in 1940s Nazi Germany. Ladies and gentlemen, we are the Moorish society.